Hey, what's up, guys? Spencer Rhodes here. So, Jessie Anderson was a character that was in seasons 5 and 6 of The Walking Dead. She was a character that was based off of the comics. Although in the comics, her character had a smaller part. I mean, similar. Most of the main points are similar. Her death and her story arc were similar. But in the show, her character is more fleshed out and developed and is more likable, and her character actually has some good points, some redeeming qualities in the show, where in the comics, she's really just a minor character who's a coward, and she dies the same death, but she doesn't really have any redeeming qualities. But she's important in season 5 because, I mean, for one thing, she's one of the big new main characters that we're introduced to in the back half of season 5, right after Bob, Beth, and Tyrese die pretty close to one another, and the group is really at its lowest point, and they're out in the wilderness, low on food, starving, thirsty, almost wanting to give up, and they come to this community which is just so alien to them. The community doesn't even know much about the walkers. They're just acting like the world never ended. It's just this big safe place, or seemingly safe place. And it really turns out that they just got kind of lucky, and that's why they didn't really have to deal with any bad people or any walkers or anything. And it's up to Rick's group to actually be the ones to show them what the real world is and train them to change and to be survivors that can actually live. But when they first arrive to Alexandria, it's just really confusing because they're all kind of damaged. Rick's group is really damaged and kind of lost in a way. And Rick just meets this woman that he's pretty much attracted to. They're pretty much attracted to each other. And she's got an abusive husband, but he ends up taking care of that. But she's sort of a love interest for Rick, and it's a big deal because he hadn't had a love interest since Lori died all the way back in season 3, episode 4, and this is like season 5, episode 12 when we're first introduced to Jessie. And it's pretty much implied that Rick and Jessie have feelings for each other, but then Jessie has 2 sons, and one of them straight up hates Rick. So it's kind of complicated, and then there's her abusive husband, but he ends up getting out of control to the point to where he kills someone, and the leader of Alexandria tells Rick to kill him. And Jessie's completely fine with it, and in season 6, their romance continues to develop, and they continue to get closer to each other. But their possible romance and their possible future together is cut short because of the events of No Way Out, which is this big storyline in the comics, and it's adapted pretty closely in the TV show. It happens right in the middle of season 6. Basically, there's a big herd of walkers, and it gets through the walls, it gets in, and they're just swarming the whole area of Alexandria, and everyone's hiding in houses. And they eventually have to come out and fight and kill the walkers. But close to the beginning of these events, Rick, Jessie, and Michonne, and her sons, and Carl, they're all trying to get from one place to another. They cover themselves up in walker guts, but one of Jessie's sons, Sam, freaks out and starts screaming. He gets devoured by walkers because of the screaming. Jessie starts crying, so she gets devoured by walkers. So that's basically her death. And do I think that she should have lived longer? I think she had potential. I think that she's one of those characters, I mean, they could have kept her alive longer, but she almost lasted a full season's worth of episodes. And unlike the comics, she actually did get fleshed out. And I think the actress, I think her name is Alexandria Breckenridge or something, she does a good job with the material she has. She does a good job. And I think Jessie is a good character, and we had her around just long enough for her death to be impactful and for her death to serve its purpose. And you needed a sad death in No Way Out. You needed someone that we kind of cared about to die in No Way Out. And Jessie's pretty much the only one, other than maybe Deanna. I don't think anyone cared about Sam and Ron, her sons. They weren't likable characters. And then there was just like the wolf guy, and that was it. So basically, Jessie was probably the saddest death in No Way Out. And I think having No Way Out without a sad death would just make it a weak story point in The Walking Dead. And it's a cool death, and it leads to so many cool things, like Carl losing his eyes, or not his eyes, but his eye, one of his eyes. And it also leads to a very big thing that you can't have without her death, which is the romance between Rick and Michonne, which ends up being much more important than the romance between Rick and Jessie. And I like the romance between Rick and Michonne. A lot of fans like the romance between Rick and Michonne. And unfortunately, you pretty much have to kill Jessie to get to that point, because I think Rick was, he didn't really realize, he might have had feelings for Michonne, but he didn't really realize it. And he was focused on Jessie. He was all focused on Jessie. And when Jessie dies, and Michonne's the one that ends up saving Rick's life when Ron tries to shoot him, and she helps him save Carl, and she's really the she's really the one that's really there with him the whole time. Jessie was changing and Jessie was learning, but Michonne was the one that was really there the whole time. And I think Rick doesn't realize that until a little bit after Jessie's death. So, in a way, you need Jessie's death to sort of propel the romance between Rick and Michonne further. So, I think it pretty much works out the way it is. Again, I like her. I like the actress's performance. She did a really good job as the character. And it's kind of tragic that she wasn't on the show super long. But no, I don't think she needed to live longer. I think her death worked the way it happened, and her death was one of the cool moments in season 6, and I wouldn't want them to take it out just because the actress does a good job. I really don't think that they needed to do too much with the character after her death. I mean, yes, she could have continued to learn and develop and toughen up as a survivor, but as far as the story goes, they just had to kill her off. It's just one of those things where, yeah, the character had a little bit more potential to live a little bit longer, but killing her was better for the story. And this is just one of those cases where you have to think more about the story, unfortunately. So, no, I don't think she needed to live longer. I think her death was good the way it was. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. I make 1 to 2 Walking Dead videos per day, so please hit that subscribe button. Right now we are at 717 subscribers. My goal is to try to get to 800 in the next few months. So just remember, every subscriber counts, every bit of support matters, and is really, really appreciated. Hopefully we can get to that goal of 800, just 83 more subscribers, and we will be at that 800 goal. We're getting there. We're already a chunk of the way there, so hopefully we'll get there in the next few months. But with all that said, I am Spencer Rhodes, and I will see you guys later. Bye.